We have a whole lot of developments to unpack today with House Intelligence Committee member, GOP Congressman Stewart of Utah. Congressman, great to have you with us tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's been a lot of focus on what the Intel chairman knew and when he knew it. Sam Stein tweets this, contributes to MSNBC and the Daily Beast. He says Schiff did appear to lie here in previously saying that his office had not spoken directly with the whistleblower. But if you care more about this stuff than the actual substance of the whistleblower complaint, then you're being a hack. What do you think, Congressman?
Well, I think Adam Schiff has an enormous credibility problem, and today just made it worse. But before we talk about today, let's talk about last week, where in an official hearing, he made stuff out of thin air. He just absolutely fabricated this supposed conversation between the president. I'm surprised that someone on his staff didn't go to him and say, Mr. Chairman, maybe it's not a good idea just to make stuff up. And let's remember that for 2 years, he's been claiming some kind of super secret, highly classified information that only he had, apparently, which said that there was collusion. We now know that that's not true. And we know from some of the revelations today that he clearly knew the essence of this whistleblower complaint, and he just wasn't honest with how he answered these questions. And frankly, he should have come to the rest of the committee and discussed it with us. And instead, he pretended he didn't know, while at the same time pretending to open this investigation that he supposedly knew nothing about. I do think there's some questions that the chairman has to answer, and I put forward just a couple of them tonight.
Well, and the New York Times reporting this today. It said the Democratic head of the House Intelligence Committee, Representative Adam Schiff of California, learned about the outlines of a CIA officer's concerns that President Trump had abused his power days before the officer filed that whistleblower complaint. We know that was August 12th, so sometime before that. But on September 19th, the day that the Inspector General from the IC went up and briefed you guys on the Hill, Schiff told reporters that after the briefing, he still did not know the contents of the complaint. Quote, "We're determined to do everything we can to determine what this urgent concern is." Does it matter that he knew and maybe misrepresented what he did or didn't know? Should the focus be on the content of that July 25th call?
Well, look, if the Democrats have such an incredibly weak case for impeachment, which they clearly do, which I would like to address in just a moment, but if that's the case, then they have to maintain the credibility and the believability of those who are carrying out the investigation. And that's why I think this is so this is so important for the American people to believe the Democrats as they try to make this nearly impossible case that they want to remove the President of the United States over one sentence in one phone call, where he's asking to investigate corruption, never promised a quid pro quo, didn't threaten to withhold aid like Vice President Biden did. Putting that aside, they say, yeah, you have to remove this president. If you're going to make that argument, then you have to be absolutely credible yourself, absolutely believable yourself. And I think Adam Schiff has lost that. Like I said, he lost it last week. He lost it years ago, in my opinion.
Okay. So how do you respond to Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who says, one, that the polls show that the American public is changing its mind? She said it was something Democrats would have to do before she would want to move forward formally with impeachment.
Yeah.
But also she said that, listen, they have to think that we're doing this with solemnity and with dignity. And she says it's not just about that phone call. There's a pattern of behavior.
Yeah, well, look, solemnity and dignity was out the window 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, when they started calling for the president's impeachment before he was even sworn into office. So, but put that aside. I mean, look, Ms. Pelosi can make these kinds of claims. We understand that. And I'm not surprised at all either that for a bump here for 2 or 3 days, there are a number of Americans who are going, well, what is this? Maybe this is something meaningful. Maybe this is something the president should be held accountable for. But when they get a chance to look at it, when they get a chance to really consider, like I said, Shannon, this is one sentence and one phone call, I think those numbers are going to decline and decline rapidly. And the Democrats will make a terrible mistake if they set the threshold for impeachment this low. I truly believe that if they impeach for this, we'll never have a president serve out his 4 years again. They will always do something of this magnitude. And if this is impeachable, then good luck having anyone serve 4 more years. Elizabeth Warren will be impeached for fraud, for her claims of being a Native American.
Oh, boy.
Joe Biden would have been impeached for what he did in Ukraine. I mean, it just sets an impossible threshold for any democracy to survive.
Well, there are many more steps in the process to come. In the meantime, Congressman Stewart of the House Intel Committee, thank you for popping in with us tonight.
Thank you, ma'am.